Have you ever heard of a battle where the person who lost was actually the true winner? It sounds impossible, right? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of a king who, in his absolute darkest moment of defeat, managed to pull off his greatest victory. It's a story that completely changes the rules of what it means to win. And this is the central puzzle of the whole story. How on earth can you lose everything on the battlefield, your army, your kingdom, and still come out on top? That is exactly what happened to King Porus, in a lesson of pure courage that people are still talking about thousands of years later. So, let's meet our two main players. In one corner, you've got Alexander the Great. The guy was a legend, undefeated, ruthless, had literally conquered most of the known world. And in the other corner, King Porus, a proud ruler fiercely defending his home. This wasn't just a battle, it was a total clash of titans. Okay, so picture the scene. We're at the Battle of Hydaspes in 326 BCE. For Alexander, this was the big one, the final, brutal frontier standing between him and the complete conquest of Asia. His army was a well-oiled machine, seemingly invincible, and now they were right on the doorstep of the Indian subcontinent. Now, if you were King Porus, things would be looking pretty bad. His army was outmaneuvered and facing a force that had literally never lost. By all logic, he and his men should have been terrified. But they weren't, because Porus had an ace up his sleeve, a secret weapon he was about to unleash. And what was that secret weapon? Oh, just war elephants. Yeah, you heard that right. These weren't just animals, they were the ancient world's version of tanks. The whole plan was simple but brilliant. Charge, create absolute total chaos, and use pure shock and terror to break Alexander's famously unbreakable formations. And you know what? At first, it worked. Big time. The elephant charge was absolutely devastating. They smashed into the Macedonian lines, trampling soldiers and shattering formations that had stood strong all the way from Greece. For a moment there, it really looked like the unthinkable might happen. Alexander's army was in complete and utter disarray. But here's the thing about Alexander the Great. You don't conquer the world by panicking. He adapted. That brilliant military mind of his kicked into high gear. He had his troops target the elephant handlers, and once the handlers were down, the wounded, panicked elephants just ran wild, trampling Porus's own men. Slowly but surely, Alexander's genius strategy took back control, and by the 6th hour, the battle was over. Porus himself fought like a lion until he was badly wounded and finally captured. He'd lost everything: his army, his kingdom, his freedom. They brought him before Alexander in chains. But even in this moment of total failure, he didn't look like a broken man. He stood tall, proud, completely unbent. So this is it, the climax. The defeated king, wounded and chained, is standing in front of the most powerful man on the planet. The noise of the battle is gone, and everything now comes down to this one single moment, this one conversation between these two incredible historical figures. Alexander, who was probably just blown away by the fight Porus had put up, asks him a question. How should I treat you? This was the ultimate test, right? Would Porus beg for his life? Would he plead for mercy? What do you say to the person who holds your entire fate in his hands? Porus didn't hesitate. He didn't beg. He didn't even flinch. He looked the most powerful man in the world dead in the eye and gave him a simple, powerful command, like a king. Just 3 words. But with those words, he was declaring that even though his army was defeated, his spirit was not. He was still a king. And that response absolutely stunned Alexander. I mean, think about it. He had conquered kings who groveled at his feet and empires that begged for mercy. He had never, ever met someone who, facing total annihilation, refused to lose their dignity. Porus's answer wasn't just brave, it was a show of a spirit that simply could not be conquered. And Alexander saw it immediately. What happened next was just incredible. Alexander didn't just spare Porus's life, he honored him. He ordered the chains to be removed right then and there. He gave Porus his kingdom back. And not only that, he actually gave him more territory than he had before. In an instant, Porus went from being a captive to a respected ally, all because he refused to act like anything less than what he was, a king. And this really gets to the heart of the whole story, doesn't it? It introduces this idea of a true victory. It's not always about what happens on the outside, on the battlefield of life. It's an internal thing. It's about holding on to your pride, your dignity, your spirit, even when everything else seems lost. Porus lost the battle, no question, but he won this deeper, more meaningful victory. And that's really the big lesson here, isn't it? The story of Porus teaches us that the core of a warrior, or really of any person, is that unbreakable sense of self-worth. It's the one thing in the world that no one can ever take from you. You have to give it away. So it leaves us with something to think about. In our own lives, with our own challenges, what does a true victory really look like to you?